What kayak, how to buy, what to look for what conditions, man. I get a lot of questions on what kayak I should buy. It all just depends on what you're doing, man. So we're going to talk about that today. So number one on the list of things to discuss is what you're going to do with it, because that is the most important thing. There's not one kayak that does everything across the board well. Some of them are going to be better for some applications than others. When you're buying a kayak, you need to decide first and foremost what body of water you're going to be fishing most. So that will help you decide what platform that you need for that application. In my experience, not every kayak does everything well all the time. So you're not going to get a one and done deal for every application out there. It's just not out there, guys. First and foremost, decide what you're going to be doing, what you're mainly going to be doing when you're choosing a style of kayak, whether that's on a river, lake, the ocean, whatever. And if you want one that kind of does everything, I can help cut the learning curve down on that, because I've tried just about all of them and give you the most versatile kayak that you could buy with the money that you have. Like if you're blue cat fishing, a bigger, more comfortable boat is definitely a plus, but can you do it in a smaller boat that you can go out on the ocean in and bust surf and stuff like that? Absolutely. But you just have to decide what application you're gonna what application that you're most going to use the kayak for. I think that that's the number one thing that you need to wrap your head around when you're choosing a kayak. Here are a few things to look at when you're looking at purchasing an offshore kayak that are going to make or break the ability of that thing to keep you above water and safe. Just some things to look at. If you guys have any questions, feel free to hit me up in the comments and I'll be happy to help. Length, center of gravity, hull design, these are all going to be super important when choosing an offshore kayak, because they are going to determine how that kayak is going to take on waves and surf and whatnot. I'll give you an example. Say you're going to bust some surf to go offshore in a kayak. You're going to want a bow that will take that water coming across the top of the kayak. I have a really big kayak that I blue catfish out of. The seat sets really high on it. So will it handle surf? Yeah, probably. It's probably going to take on some water, but the seat just sets up too high and you're going to get dumped if you catch a wave across that thing. Now my other kayaks that I use, the Hobies, they're really low seat. Not super comfortable. I mean, they're not bad, but you don't want to be sitting in that thing for 10 to 12 hours a day blue cat fishing, because you're going to get sore. You have to decide whether you want a pedal kayak, a paddle kayak, whether you want to put a motor on it, a trolling motor. There's all different kinds of options that you can decide. For me personally, I have two different kayaks that I use for two different applications. When I'm blue cat fishing or fly fishing or something like that in freshwater, I use one kayak. When I'm going to go offshore and bust surf and possibly get into some storms and big weather, I use another kayak. Is there a kayak that does both equally well? No, it just doesn't exist, guys. You're going to have, there's give and take. So you're going to have to give a little, take a little, and decide what you want. Now, if you're mainly going to be going in lakes and rivers and streams and stuff like that, you don't have to get the baddest kayak for busting surf to go offshore. You go offshore when the weather allows you, and you watch the weather, and you can get out there and take just about any kayak out there. Now I will say this, if you're looking for comfort, bass fishing, doing stuff like that, maybe blue cat fishing or any other kind of freshwater, you might go with a kayak that's more comfortable and is able to go offshore on the good days. Because, you might get offshore once a year. You might never go offshore. If that's not what you're looking for, stop looking that direction. Look at a kayak that has comfort over anything else. Hull design is paramount for offshore. It's also paramount for taking on big water, big waves, even in freshwater. So you might want to look at that. I'll give you guys some suggestions of stuff that I've tried, but in the end, it's going to be up to you deciding what you're going to do and what you're going to use it for. Here are a few things to consider when buying a freshwater kayak: stability, comfort, the size of the kayak, what the hull's made of in case you're in a river or stream and you have to drag it across rocks. These are all important things, and if you have any other questions, I'd be happy to answer them. But comfort is the main thing with the ability to haul a lot of gear. Alright guys, here's the Nucanoe. You can see the hull right here. It is not made for offshore. You can see how flat that hull is on the bottom, right there. It does punch through the waves pretty good, but it's a super wet ride. You get a lot of splash coming up. Another thing, look how high the seat sets. Seat sets super high on that thing, man. Way high. And it's very wide. It's a 41-inch kayak across the beam there. So it's really stable. And it's a nice, comfortable ride. But there's some give and take with that. It's not fast unless you put a motor on it. Here's an Outback hull. This is my offshore boats. I've got two of them. I like them so much. You can see right there, see that roll? See how it punches through the waves? That's how it's able to punch through waves so good, guys. Look at that. That's the front of the boat, the bow right there. And this is a great look at the hull. And it carries that all the way down, all the way to the back of the boat. On the back, and you can see that hull just carries those fine lines all the way down. That's what makes it such a joy to fish in. Scupper hulls, it doesn't take on water. It is a wet ride, but you can get in some big water in that thing. I like this boat so much I got two of them. When I'm blue cat fishing, I'm mainly looking for comfort and the ability to carry a lot of gear. So this boat definitely has it. You can put a trolling motor on the front of it and an outboard motor on the back, because it is, if you had to paddle this thing, you'd get nowhere in a hurry. But the bottom of the boat is super flat. You can see right there on the hull. A lot different than those Hobies. Those Hobies are designed to punch through waves. This is more designed for stability and comfort. Now if you're looking for speed for offshore, my buddy Dan has a paddle kayak. My buddy Dan has a paddle kayak called a Stealth. And super long, 18-foot long. You've seen it in one of the videos before. But it's made for speed, and it's made to punch through waves and punch through waves fast. About to rain on us here. In the description, I'm going to link the kayaks that I've had. That's the three kayaks I have. Two 2018 Hobie Outbacks on this rack here, and then the Nucanoe Frontier 12th. That's the ones I have. That's what I've pared it down to. Covers just about everything that I need to do with them. So first and foremost, guys, I would make a list. Like whether you're going to use it in a lake, a river, a stream, offshore. Then I would decide what you're going to be fishing for, whether it's bass, blue cats, offshore species. Make a list, and then you can narrow it down to what you're going to do. Now, some other considerations are weather, current, paddle versus pedal. Make these lists and decide what is going to fish you best. So write everything down, make a list on both sides, and decide what platform is best going to suit you for the way that you fish and the way that you fish most of the time. I personally believe that you can find a boat that can meet all your needs, but you just have to be very specific about when you go out. Say like you have a boat designed for lakes and streams and stuff like that. You can go offshore in that boat. You just have to be very particular and watch the weather and not get out there and get stuck when it picks up. There are boats that will go across all applications. They're not going to be perfect for every application, if that makes sense, guys. You're going to have to pick and choose. I did it for years. I fished out of a Hobie Outback, which is a 12-foot kayak. It's actually 12 foot 6 inches long, a little less than 80 pounds. It's a pedal kayak. I used it for everything, and it worked really well. Are there better boats for like blue cat fishing or staying out there or fly fishing all day? Absolutely. That's why I ended up getting another kayak, because I fish so much. But if you're not fishing all the time, you don't need 2, 3 kayaks, one for every application. You can pick a boat that'll do a little bit of everything. You just got to be smart about it. Make those lists, decide what you're going to do, and narrow it down from there. There's a lot of good boat designs out there, guys. I've had everything from ocean kayaks, which were paddle kayaks, all the way to Hobies, Nucanoe. I've had an Old Town, which was an excellent boat. I'll mention the Old Town real quick. I had an Old Town Bigwater 132. You saw me fish out for blue cats, and I took it offshore. Great boat for comfort. Took on big water great. It was a really dry ride. The seat was too tall for offshore to be comfortable going when it got really rough. But it wasn't a bad boat. You could, on a good day offshore, you never even know. Great kayak. Hobie, excellent. Best offshore pedal kayak in my opinion. It's an Outback. It's a 2018 and prior Outback before they moved the hatch and the seat forward and did all that stuff. Great boat, man. Amazing offshore. There's not any water big enough that you couldn't handle in that boat where you'd be out there kayak fishing. But I will say this, setting in it 10, 12 hours a day blue cat fishing down on the water like that, it's a very uncomfortable ride after any length of time, because you're laid down and laid back. Great for offshore fishing, not so great for blue cat fishing. But if you're not going to stay out there 12, 13 hours a day, there's no need to worry about that. The Nucanoe I got, super comfortable boat. You're almost standing up in it. You set up so high in the seat. It'll handle big water. Only going offshore, get the best boat for offshore, and then use it for blue cats. Use it for anything else that you want to do, river, streams, whatever. If you're only going to be fishing freshwater and maybe go offshore once a year, go offshore when the weather permits and it's good, and get the kayak that's best suited for your need, whatever you're using it for. That's the one thing that I can't stress enough about purchasing a kayak. Just make sure that it's tailored for you, for what you fish for and how you fish. Number one take from this whole video, decide what you're going to fish for and how you're going to fish. That's the most important thing. Decide what kayak is best suited for what you're doing and how you're going to use it, guys. Anyway, till the next one, Killer B out.